Welcome back to Up the Villa. Spurs 4, Villa 1. Joined by Justin. How are you?
Annoyed. Annoyed, yes. Annoyed.
Villa fans, subscribe to the channel, smash the likes just to help us out more than anything, and comment your thoughts on Spurs 4, Villa 1. Before we get into it, I think fair play to Spurs second half. They were by far the better team. Thoroughly deserved the victory in the end, so fair play to them. But from a Villa perspective and reviewing this match, so in context of the match of what we've just seen, frustrating, man, because first half, I actually thought like perfect game plan, absolutely perfect. Everything you need to do against Spurs, keep it tight, limit them to being that free flowing hybrid team, nick a goal, go in at halftime 1-0, grow into the game, try and expose them even more. First half, I thought we were really good. I thought it was the perfect away performance, and it was good, but second half, it was absolutely terrible. And it's like at times it feels like we need to be sort of spoon fed by Unai for absolutely everything, and we can't take any of our own initiative on the pitch, and it was just bitterly frustrating. Like first half, I thought Matty Cash was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because what he was doing, he was shutting down Son straight away. He was winning all those duels. He was stopping crosses. But then second half, the start of the second half, we sit off Son. We don't engage with Son. We allow him to get the cross in, and Spurs score. So for all of that good work in the first half of being intense, we just sit off, let them cross it in, allow a player like Son time on the ball to pick a cross. He's going to put it in a dangerous area, and Spurs score. So all of our good work was completely undone. And we are probably going to focus on the second half because we fell apart. Why did we fall apart? Why were we so good in the first half? Oh, Nana, first half, breaking up play, being a destroyer. We were so compact and so organised. And then second half, and I do think probably one of the problems for us, and this is how I've seen the game myself, is that because I think there was a lack of attacking intent at times, and it didn't allow us to get a foothold and pose too many problems. It meant that it just went back to our defense too quickly. And I think that was a major problem. I think in the first half, we didn't pose Spurs enough questions for them to start having to think about things. I think it was coming back quite a lot at times. And Watkins did have that massive opportunity where, he was through and he spurned his chance. But yeah, how did you see it, Justin?
Can we just review the first half and then knock it on the head? That'd be great, thanks. Yeah, game of two halves, the old adage, isn't it? Yeah, really good first half. The containment plan worked to perfection. Sat deep, soaked up all the pressure. When they turned the ball over in our final third, we had the answers, didn't we? Restricted them to long range shooting. Didn't really carve us open that much. Capitalised on a really good set piece from Luke and they were all over the shop once they got that flick. And then really is the key moment in the game that Ollie Watkins' chance. 1-0 up, we carve them open. Watkins, who I've seen him bury them time and time again, totally, fluffs his line, pulls it so far wide. And yeah, half time, I'm thinking perfect away performance, totally negated their game plan. And I think I agree with you, and it's something I was thinking. The containment plan works very well while you are either level or in front. Now, they managed to get level very quickly in the second half with, I agree again, we didn't close him down enough. You can't give him that yard because he's got quality, and it was a phenomenal ball in, left-footed, dissected the goalkeeper in the back four, and Brennan Johnson's really just got to run onto it and tap it home. And then, when they go ahead with, again, another superbly worked goal, Kulusevski, thread the ball through. Fantastic run from Solanke, perfectly timed, wonderful finish. At that point, then the containment plan, it doesn't work anymore because you're no longer soaking up pressure. You've got to then totally change your game plan and go for them. And I think it was only really when they got the third after a poor mistake from Pau Torres. I mean, he got away with the first pass, come back to him, and he tries exactly the same pass again, but even worse, he gets cut out, and they take full advantage. And then we had a little spell for about 10 minutes when we looked a bit more a threat, didn't we? We had a bit of a go, and we could have maybe nicked one, but. And then the fourth, it's one of them, isn't it? You give a free kick away there to the box, and Matheson has done it time and time again, hasn't he? And I think 4-1 flatters them, if I'm brutally honest. I don't think it's very similar to the scoreline at Villa Park last year. It flattered them, but you've got to hold your hands up at points and say the second half performance just wasn't good enough. Too many players in the second half didn't show up as well as the first, and we sat off them a little bit too much, made a couple of bad mistakes. They created 2 very good goals. And it's a bad day at the office overall, isn't it? Disappointing, but only our second loss of the season. As always, take it into context. The manager will go away, he'll look at this, and it won't be good enough for him by a million miles. He won't be happy at all, and there'll be a lot of hours spent in that Bodymore Heath bunker over the next 7 days. Once we get the Bruges game out of the way, the build up to Liverpool, they'll be absolutely dissecting this to the last nth degree, and hopefully putting things wrong that went wrong today for next week.
Yeah, and I think it is all about following the game plan of what Emery set. And I think, again, it's a bit annoying that it's the same pattern, kind of as the game that we played against Spurs at Villa Park. Pretty even first half. And then Spurs have gone around and turned us over in 45 minutes worth of football. So that's frustrating. I think I really want to touch on what we feel like the game plan was today, because I think it's important to understand why we lost and why we fell apart. Because it's okay saying you're crap or you're no good or it's your fault for doing this, but there's more to it than sort of just blaming individual players. So, for me, I think exactly how I think the first half was meant to go, that was slightly Villa's game plan. And we've seen Emery do this away from home, and it's our first away loss of the season, of being compact, being organised, being tight, being resolute, but having a threat. Now, I personally feel like our threat wasn't really there today. I don't think we had. We didn't. If we're being honest, we didn't really have much about us, did we? It was long balls.
One shot on target.
Yeah, so it was long balls, but aimless long balls. So there's a difference between when I talk about before a game how we can exploit 2 defenders that stay back. So when we're talking about Spurs' style, they will have 2 centre halves, full-backs that go forward. They will leave space either side of those centre backs and the full-backs that have gone forward. So the correct ball, sort of like a channel splitting ball that may be quite low, that's got a bit of bend on it, that sort of Watkins can peel off and run to. That's the type of ball that you've got to look for. Rodgers played one when he got fouled. And those are the types that I'm looking for. But today it was a bit like Martinez, long ball, just lofted over the top into an area that's not really great for a striker to win. I think what's not helping us a lot as well is that when McGinn was on that right-hand side, I think for McGinn to do a job away from home, that's fine. Tuck in, defend, be organised, be combative, win your duels. But where's the threat on the right-hand side? Because I think that's partly to do with why Leon Bailey's not in the team. And I think that needs to be spoke about a little bit. I'm not talking about Bailey's form, because we can all see that his form's not there. But Bailey compared to McGinn there is night and day with what you're getting there from an attacking sense. If Bailey's there, head up, driving, dribbling, attacking space, But when McGinn's there, that threat's just not there on the right-hand side. McGinn always wants to come back inside. He's coming into areas where it's heavily congested. There's a lot of midfielders. There's players like Sarr. There's players like Bentancur. So McGinn's coming into traffic. We've got Rodgers, who's playing quite central as well, who's being shut out. We've got Watkins in a central area. And then on the opposite side with Ramsey, I felt like first half Ramsey was good. He was defending well. He was offering that bit of a threat. But if we're being brutally honest, where's the threat on the left as well? Because we know Luca Dean's going to get forward, but we do need to see a bit more from Ramsey at times as well. And I think those two areas now, either side of that double pivot, they've got to start offering something, because I think the double pivot works brilliantly. We know what Rodgers is about, but those two either side, whoever plays there for Villa, we've got to start seeing some end product and some end numbers, because it's okay, picking it up and running into a bit of a blind alley and putting a bit of a cross in. But I think those two areas for Villa at the minute, personally for me, I think those two areas are hurting us a little bit.
Yeah, I think the issue is because the way we play and the way we set up, and currently the way we set up with McGinn and Ramsey, who are more natural midfielders than sort of attacking players. You would class like Philogene and Bailey as wingers, whereas you class Ramsey and McGinn as more midfield types. So naturally, it curtails their attacking output. But what we've seen from Ramsey in previous seasons, and when he was at his best, is his driving runs at players and at people and taking people on, taking people out of the game, opening defences up, dragging another defender across to him because of the way he runs with the ball and takes people on. And I think McGinn, similar on the other side, because their natural game isn't taking people on and going past people and creating that overload maybe at the back of the box if Ramsey goes past a couple on the left-hand side, it naturally brings defenders across to cover the gaps. And then you sort of, your other wide players are getting in. And we're not seeing that. We're seeing a little bit. And the only way I can sort of describe it is when Jack was with us, he used to take people on and run past players. And then when he went to City, he sort of got the ball, stopped, turned, laid the ball back. And I think we're seeing too much of that currently. Players who are receiving the ball in good areas, not being willing to take a player on. And I know that's not necessarily our game. Yeah, we like to play out from the back. We like to open teams up. But we've seen, under Unai, a lot of our best performances have come when players have picked the ball up and run at people. And we've had this quick counter attack. And we've got players that can hurt teams like that. But today we didn't exploit those positions we got into in the sort of wider areas. And then you lose the ball in key areas. And we always knew that Spurs would try and turn the ball over, and they always overcommit with their players because they play with one holding midfield and two that's more attacking. And I think second half, it just totally fell apart, didn't it? And once they got the third, so especially so quickly after the second, we didn't get a chance to sort of regroup and try and get back in the game. And at 3-1 with not that long to go, it's always going to be very difficult, isn't it? But, I'm disappointed with today, 100%, 4-1, in my opinion, we shouldn't be losing 4-1 to anyone. We are a very, very good team, and it is a hard one to take, and not good enough. Second half performance, absolutely not good enough. I'm 99% sure I'll come out and be very disappointed. But, we live to fight another day, and I think we'll be all right. I still think we'll be okay. 10 games in, 5th position, okay. We've dropped a few points we were disappointed with, but it's gone now, and we have to move on.
Yeah, so, I just really want to just highlight what my point was as well. So I'll try and show you with the average positions of the game. So what I'm talking about is really the lack of width that we've got. And I think that in this game especially, that was the problem. So if we look at the average positions, we can see where Ramsey's average position was, and we can see where McGinn's average position was. And if we have a look at McGinn's work and where his work is happening, if you look at his brightest part, which is in the opposition half, where it's coming into that central area, there's not much going out near that byline where you'd expect a winger to be attacking. And I think the same for Ramsey, really. A lot of Ramsey's work is in that defensive area. So, we do need that out ball, and we do need that width to be able to stretch teams. And if you looked at our formation today, it looks a little bit sort of like the classic Christmas tree formation, where it's all going into that area there. And I think at times we need to have that little bit more expansive nature about us. Luca Dean, look where a lot of Luca Dean's work's coming from. Defensive, if we're talking about our system and Luca Dean's offering the width, well, his heat map is doing more defending. And I know this is, because of what Spurs were doing to Villa as well. But we've got to talk from a Villa perspective here on what's happened for Villa and how we can get better, basically. So I think that's possibly where I feel like we had a bit of a mare today, that real lack of width within our team.
Yeah, I just quickly going back to that one. Can you just click on the Villa one again? Sorry. It's basically, like I was saying, because we're playing with McGinn and Ramsey in that role, and the evolution of and the emergence of Rodgers in that role. Last season, we had a Tielemans playing in there, and his natural sort of game is to drop a little bit deeper and create sort of more mid-centre midfield. And then you had Bailey as that attacking output, and like you're saying on the right-hand side, he offered that width, didn't he, which allowed Watkins to have sort of a foil to play off the back of him. Whereas this year, I do feel, and I felt this in quite a few games, Ollie Watkins has been quite isolated. And yes, his link man is Rodgers, but I think because he's playing more in the pocket rather than out wide, he's having to do a lot more work in the flanks, isn't he? Whereas Bailey was doing that job last year. So I think maybe the system needs a tweak, and we are desperate, absolutely desperate for Leon Bailey to try and regain some kind of form, because playing in that role, it helps the team so much getting up the pitch. It helps the team so much in that final third to have more of an attacking output. We've had one shot on target today, and that was the goal from 2 yards out from basically a Spurs mistake from a flick on. So our attacking output, I think, needs to be having a look at when Rodgers isn't on it, and he did all right today. But yeah, McGinn in that role doesn't offer us that attacking sort of flair out on the right hand side that a peak Bailey does.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, it's just frustrating, and I think Spurs deserve a lot. They deserve a lot of credit because,
they do
really well in the second half. But again, like the free kick at the end, like what's going on there? Like
it's almost like switching off, isn't it? Because I think the wall didn't look right, did it?
Yeah, it's just
the wall didn't look right.
Where's like the intensity on even that to sort of like stop that going in? Because,
but I do think when a player of his quality does that, you almost think that looks too easy. That just looks too easy. How's he done that? There's got to be a mistake. But sometimes you got to say, you know what? It's a really, really good free kick. It just, he's just. There's nowhere else in the goal he's going to score, and he just literally pings it in the top corner. You have to just sometimes hold your hands up. I'm no fan of Maddison, but it's a great finish.
Yeah, and I think there'll, probably be a lot of talk after this one of where we're at. Are we as good as we think we are? What would you kind of say to that?
I'll say to that last year we lost 4 at home to Spurs. They had a game in hand and they were above us in the league, and we finished in the top 4. So 10 games in, we've only lost 2 games. We've 18 points from 10 games. 2 points a game is where you want to be at. We're practically there anyway. And we've got a massive, massive game next Saturday, which I think we should be relishing. I really do. We are a very, very good side. We only get beat these days when we're either poor or the opposition plays very, very well. Generally, if we're decent, we're a match for anyone. And I expect us to go to Anfield next week and give them a very, very good game. And maybe it's not the worst game in the world to have to come up next. A real one to get your teeth into and to get up for. White hot at Anfield. Champions League, top of the group. Really interesting game against Bruges coming up. So I think there's lots to look forward to. We're not the finished article. We're not going to be for a while. There's lots of players there that have got to, show more, especially some of them coming off the bench. I'm not going to name names, but there's 1 or 2 there that are in the 22, what you class as the squad now. and the manager will be looking very intently at them, thinking, okay, there's positions there where we can definitely improve next season. We can, one or two won't be there next season, and there's areas of the squad that do need improving. But I'm not. Overall, I'm disappointed today. Overall, I'm very. I hate us losing. I hate watching us lose. But
Yeah, and I think it's
we're a good side still.
Yeah, and I think it's because I would say I understand the Villa team, and I understand Unai's tactics and what he tries to do, and a lot of us do as well. And I think I'm more disappointed that we were 1-0 up, but we've conceded early in the second half. We've made it even more difficult for us, and we haven't really been able to grow into that second half as well and pose too many problems. So I think, and I think what happens when we do lose these days is that there's always a reaction, and Unai will be showing them of where they need to improve. And I think what happens with Villa is that for every loss, there's a small ounce of character building within those losses, and we are able to look at it and learn from it and get better and try and, it's like sometimes, you learn from mistakes, don't you? And I think that's something that we can use as a positive in this game, because we do need to make sure that even at 1-1, we carry on doing the right things still, and we don't lose our way. And I think that's something that's important, because he builds us on being consistent, being calm. And their second goal was really good. So fair
and do you
play.
know what as well? The Premier League, in the top 10 of the Premier League, is a hyper competitive league this season. I think there's 4 points between 10th and 3rd now. And there's a lot of teams there that are jostling for positions. There's a lot of teams there that will be having genuine thoughts on we can get Champions League this season. Newcastle are in 10th. Bournemouth are having a really good season. Brighton are a good footballing side. Then you've got Tottenham, Chelsea, the two teams last year that fell away, who are re-energised and back again. Then you got us, Arsenal, fell away a little bit. Forest, unbelievable, in 3rd, 19 points. Then the top two. There's so many good teams there. We have to really take a little bit of a look back and think, you know what, we're in a very competitive top half now. We jumped the gun last year. We did fantastically well to finish 4th, but we've got to think that we are a very competitive team now in a very competitive league. So, all is not lost. Lots and lots to play for still.
Yeah, and finally, I was listening to Emery talking before the game on the interview that he did, and he was talking about Villa's mentality, Villa winning every game, trying to go into every game, and I think we've just got to keep harnessing that mentality. Really, I think the result will probably get, a lot of talking points from people saying that we chucked the game in the week and we've brought all our players back and we've lost this game, and so I imagine there'll be a bit of that. But I think we've got another big game now. I reckon dust ourselves off, go into Bruges, get some confidence. That's going to be another tough game as well. But then we've got Liverpool, so we know within every game. Like I see a lot of this, and I really never agree with it. Is when people just talk about we've got 2 absolutely massive games against Liverpool and Spurs. Yeah, we have, but you can lose. You can lose to Bournemouth. You can lose to Crystal Palace. You can lose to Wolves. Like, every single game is so difficult. Who'd have thought Spurs had lost to Crystal Palace last week? Absolutely no one. And then they go and meet Man City and Villa in a week, and that's what the Premier League's like. So it is ultra competitive.
Who'd have thought Bournemouth would get 7 points out of Arsenal, Villa, and Man City in 3 games? It's just ridiculous. So, we're a brilliantly competitive, best team I've seen at Villa in my lifetime. Gutted today, but we'll be back.
Yeah,
100% we'll be back.
Yeah, we will. Right, Villa fans, let us know your thoughts. If you've got this far and you're not already subscribed, smash the likes and comment your thoughts. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.